Hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily Update on 1000 Days Challenge. This is day 711. So let's get things started. Alright, so first and foremost, in terms of balanced market structure update wise, balanced equity update wise, there's no change in terms of that. But I did actually, like what I mentioned, is that I entered a short position based on that. And then thereafter, I actually took profit when it hit the 20k mark itself. So half of the position is already closed at the moment. In addition to that, I'm also going to move the stop loss to break even point itself. So in the worst case scenario, I'm going to be taking 50% of my profit. In the best case scenario, I'll be trailing the stop loss very closely and tightly using the 20 exponential moving average as the primary key support at the moment. So we do actually break and close above this 20 exponential moving average. We do bounce strongly above that, in which case I'll be closing it earlier than expected. But otherwise, my hard stop loss is now moved towards this level itself. So in the case that we do have a very strong bounce suddenly that we go above that, similarly I'll be closing the remaining of the half of the position itself. Alright, other than that, do I see for further potential drop? My answer is potentially yes, simply because of the fact that we do bear in mind that we are still not seeing a strong in terms of bullish momentum support just yet. Especially you can see a volume is not entirely strong even with this small green bullish candle candlestick. So I'm a little bit cautious as to whether this is the near bottom for Bitcoin itself, even though tentatively we do have this trend line that's sloping towards the upside. But like what I mentioned, I'm definitely not a fan when it comes to upslope trend line or even downslope trend line in general, simply because they are highly subjective and they can be drawn in certain ways that fits what you think it is. So for me, I generally just prefer using horizontal support and resistances. And in addition to that, or maybe even just dynamic resistances with moving averages. But bearing in mind, moving averages itself also does have a certain kind of bias that you can form by shifting to particular time frame as well. Alright, but beyond that, that's not the main topic of today itself. So let's see how things goes. And yeah, that's about it for Bitcoin itself. So going into the other market itself, for US market, for S&P 500 and NASDAQ, we do see a relatively red bearish candlestick, but nothing to be too much of a significance, I would say. So you can see that we are generally chopping around there in terms of 20 exponential moving average on the daily chart itself. So nothing to be too much of a concern for both of them. But for Asia itself, it was very surprising. But then again, to understand or saw the news yesterday itself, you could also understand the sentiment behind as well. So definitely there's some sort of very sentiment in the market, especially for China equities. And this is the first time we should break below this down upslope kind of trend by itself. I wouldn't exactly use this as a trend line of what I mentioned, but rather itself is a very clear higher low, and a higher low, and potentially we could be breaking it itself. So the key thing will be over here. So now that we break the first line of support itself, definitely we do not want to break this 50 simple moving average. Because if that does break, especially with conviction itself, we could definitely be seeing a much more further drop itself. But of course, there could also be a triple bottom formation as well. Alright, and if you know in terms of KREF itself similarly leans towards kind of a choppy price action at the moment itself, we did also break below the 20 exponential moving average. But bear in mind, we seem to be supporting at this 50 simple moving average, which previously acted as resistance, 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 and resistance before break above, and then we continue to go profit. So definitely I do see this to bounce at least on the very first try. The question is, will it be strong enough to bounce to break this high region itself? That was a very good sign. But if we do have a weak bounce and then a weak retest again, then that will not be a very good sign. You can basically take this as a dynamic support is somewhat like a piece of paper. If you keep testing it again and again, over time it does get weakened and you can break it in that sense. Alright, otherwise that's more or less about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by your comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.